Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, 7 Phone Skills Guaranteed to Make You Money. My name's Eliana Raggio and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. And for anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our search engine optimization, best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. DealerOn was named the top-rated website provider by Driving Sales in 2012, and DealerOn customers were winners of the Spring and Fall 2012 Digital Dealer Website Excellence Awards, including the highly coveted overall winner. DealerOn is so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that we're the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. Oh yeah, I said it, money-back lead guaranteed. So if your website company isn't guaranteeing you leads, well then maybe you should check us out at DealerOn.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Jerry Thibeau as our presenter today. Jerry Thibeau is the president and founder of Phone Ninjas, a company focused on helping dealerships improve phone skills. Jerry's success with clients has made Phone Ninjas one of the hottest and fastest growing companies in the automotive sector. Phone Ninjas was a recent winner of the PCG Spotlight Awards for one of the top 5 products at NADA 2012. Jerry is a 27-year automotive veteran and has earned the nickname Phone Ninja for his ability to turn even the hardest of phone shoppers into real appointments that show. Having personally listened to and provided coaching feedback on more than 10,000 sales calls, Thibeau is the industry's best and brightest when it comes to evaluating a phone conversation. Jerry has written countless articles from the industry, is an active blogger on all of the popular automotive social media sites, and he can be reached at jerry@phoneninjas.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we're going to respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of the webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference. And please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And guess what? DealerOn is going to be at the upcoming NADA convention in Orlando. So if you're going to be there, well then come visit us. We're going to be at booth 3259, and I'm going to be there. And I love meeting you guys. So please come and visit us. It's February 8th through the 11th in Orlando this year. And it's going to be a great convention. It always is. And also, please check out the speaking sessions from Jeff Clark. He's our EVP of Business Development here at DealerOn. And he's going to be talking about digital strategies to double your fixed ops profits. Now, Jeff is a fantastic speaker, so you definitely got to go check him out. He's going to be speaking 3 different times and have all the information right there for you. And also, not to be outdone, Phone Ninjas is also going to be at NADA as well. They're going to be at booth 128, and they are looking forward to meeting you too. And today's speaker, Jerry Thibeau, has a few sessions of his own. Got them listed right there. So if you want to catch the OPN, as I like to call him, the original Phone Ninja, in person, well, then this is a perfect opportunity to catch him live in all of his automotive brilliance. And guess what? Our great friends at Phone Ninjas are giving away some really fun prizes today for some lucky attendees. We're going to get to that soon. Can't give it away just yet, but stay tuned. Answer a few simple questions, and the first one to write in the correct answer is going to be winning an awesome prize. And at the conclusion of the webinar, you're also going to receive a short survey. So please fill it out, because we're always looking for great feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select some winners from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. Now let's get started. Let's prepare to be ninja-fied, and let's learn the 7 phone skills guaranteed to make you money. Jerry Thibeau, how are you today, my friend?
I am doing great, Eliana, and thank you for having me today.
Oh, definitely. The pleasure is all mine. We have a lot of people on the line today. Looking forward to hearing about all of your automotive awesomeness. And people are still writing in to say hi to you. You are a very popular guy today. So before we get started, I see you have the prizes slide up. What are the prizes today, just so we know?
Well, so basically, I think I'm going to give away at least 4, maybe a couple more. These are what we call ninja chips. They're delicious little chocolate chip cookies that we send out on special occasions to people who deserve them. And we'll give out at least 4 of these today on the webinar. And also, later at the conclusion of today's webinar, I will be doing my quarterly drawing for the top phone ninja in the country. We're going to be giving away a trip to Hawaii. So we're going to do that live here on your webinar. Has anybody ever given a trip to Hawaii away, Eliana?
No, sir. They most certainly have not. And darn it, I wish I was an award-winning phone ninja so I could win. I'm not even eligible.
It was always a first. So let's go ahead and get this program started. And today we're going to talk about, your phone shoppers, and we're going to understand why they're shopping you. We're going to understand why you're struggling on the phone, why most people do. And we're going to teach you how to set more appointments. And then at the conclusion, we'll do some question and answers. And when we did this webinar last time, we had some great questions, and hope to have some more this time. I like to start off by talking about the first moment of truth, and that's how customers choose to interact with your dealership. And it's one of these 4 ways. It's internet, chat, telephone, or in person. And if we think back to, 12-plus years ago, the internet and chat wasn't really prevalent in a dealership. It wasn't happening as much as it does today. And so we really only had the telephone and in person. And the average customer used to visit 4 to 6 different dealerships in person before they would decide to buy a car. Well, that number is down to under 2 now. And they are visiting 4 to 6 different dealerships via the internet or by telephone. And that's why it's important that we get good with our telephone skills. And I also call this the evolution of a customer. To me, the lowest form of evolution is the internet lead, because all we are words on a computer screen. And people often take a different message than what you type to them. And as you evolve, you get to chat. Well, a chat session can happen in about 9 minutes, and you can have a good conversation with somebody, ask them questions, and interact with them live. On a telephone, we have even more control. And our whole goal is to get that customer to the dealership, because when they're in the dealership, we have a better chance of closing them because we can use all of our tools. Now, the problem is more and more people are avoiding the dealership. Why? Because they don't trust us. They view us as the cheesy old car sales guy. And let's face it, our industry does not have a very good reputation. People don't trust us. And, there was a recent survey that came out, and we rated actually lower than politicians, which surprised me because I thought they were pretty low. So, obviously, we're going to get that customer to dealership so they can see how professional we are. And that's the whole goal. The telephone is the bridge that will help you bring people to your dealership. Because in the internet, chat, or telephone, we're not selling a car, we're selling an appointment. And that's all it's about. Right? We're selling that appointment. And we sell the car when we get that customer to the dealership. And if you think about it, this is a lot like online dating. You see somebody online on Match.com that you like, you send them an email. Well, if you send them an email and said, hey, Leanna, let's hook up, well, the average person would be like, hey, get lost, creep. But if you take the time to write a really nice email to somebody and, you say some nice things about that person, well, that is going to encourage a second email. Maybe that might encourage a chat session. If that goes well, it gets to a telephone call. And ultimately, you get the date. So if you think about it, we're actually dating our customers. If you can do a good job on the internet, chat, or telephone, you're going to get that date with your customer. And when you bring a customer to your dealership, they close 50% of the time. If you can make that appointment, you will sell the car 50% of the time. That's what it's all about. Now, let me advance my slides. Why do we struggle on the phone? It's all about behavioral cues. We use words, tones, gesture, posture, and facial expressions to communicate with customers. And experts will tell you that what makes you good in person are the bottom 3, right? The gestures, tones, facial expressions. And when we put you on the telephone, all you have are words and tones. We take away what makes you good. You have the ability to read into people's body language. They can read your body language. It's a very important aspect of how we communicate with customers. And when you get on the phone, typically you focus more on the words and not the tones. So, I might say something like, Yeah, that's a really nice car. Well, that didn't sound very convincing. Like, that's a really nice car sounds a lot better to your customer. So enthusiasm, when you're enthusiastic about something and you use proper tone, that's contagious. People can pick that up over the telephone. And a lot of people are right-brained and left-brained. Salespeople tend to be more right-brained, whereas BDC reps tend to be more left-brained. And that's why dealerships have gone out and hired BDC people, because they want to hire left-brained people who like to work on the telephone, whereas a right-brained person wants nothing to do with the telephone. And if you want to figure out whether you're left-brained or right-brained, this little slide right here is a good indication of whether you're left-brained or right-brained. If you see this woman spinning clockwise, it means that you are right-brained. If you see it going counterclockwise, it means that you're left-brained. Eliana, which way do you see it spinning?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. That means you're right-brained. You don't see it going counter. Now, sometimes you can look away and look back at it and make it go a different way. Are you able to do that?
Okay, I'll try that. No, she's still going clockwise. Come on, she's going clockwise.
All right. So you're more right-brained, but there are people that can see it spinning both ways, which means that they use each side of their brain equally well. This is an optical illusion, and it's a well-known little test out there to indicate whether people are left-brained or right-brained. If we have any BDC managers with us today, when interviewing candidates, it would be best if you hired a left-brained person versus a right-brained person. That's not to say that you can't teach a right-brained person good phone skills. It's just that they have to practice at it a little bit harder. They have to work at it. Now, there are 7 steps to a phone call, and we're going to go through each one of them in detail. The first is the initial rapport building. And before I go there, Eliana, let's give away some cookies right here.
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's unmute the first hand raiser that wants to attempt at giving me a great greeting. And if I feel they gave a great greeting, then they're going to win some cookies. Now, this greeting that they're going to do would have to be exactly how they would answer the phone at their dealership. So who's our volunteer?
Okay, whoever's going to, I see some people are already volunteering. You have to be sure that you have a microphone so we can unmute you. Okay? So I do already have some volunteers. Thank you so much already. So the first person who wrote in to volunteer is Dirk Arneson. Dirk, before I unmute you, are you able to be unmuted? Okay, he says yes. He says yes. Okay. I am going to go and unmute Dirk Arneson. Here we go. Dirk, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
Oh, very well. Thank you very much for joining us today. Dirk, just for participating, you're going to get some cookies. Aren't you awesome? So,
actually, let me correct you. He's only going to get cookies if he gives me a greeting that I approve of. So,
oh, I apologize. I apologize.
The phone is ringing. Ring, ring, ring. Answer your phone.
It's a wonderful day here at Performance. This is Dirk. How may I help you today?
All right, Dirk, that's a great job. You win the cookies. You basically did what I wanted you to do, which was you were positive, you sounded upbeat, you used your first name, and you asked, how may I help? And you certainly used your dealership name as well. That's exactly what we're looking for. You know, think about when you call home or your spouse calls you, or when you call home and your spouse answers and they answer the phone, you know exactly what type of mood that person is in just by the way they answer the phone. And, you know, when you form a first impression of somebody, you know, that's like in 5 seconds, somebody's got an impression of you based on the way you answer the phone. And I want them to have a great impression of me, because when you form a bad impression, you can't take that back. And I hear people calling dealerships all the time, and it's like sales, used cars. You know, I picture that cheesy old car salesperson when I hear that. I hear service and parts, for those of you that are in the fixed ops. You know, I hear service or parts hold. You know, people have a negative perception of our dealership, and when they get that, we feed right into what they expect. So I like to set the bar high and do something a little bit different. And I'll say, it's a great day here at Phone Ninjas. This is Jerry. How may I help you? It doesn't have to be a great day. It can be a terrific day. It can be an amazing day, super day, wonderful day, whatever type of day you want it to be. And if you don't want to say that, you say, thank you for calling ABC Motors. This is Jerry. How may I help you? And you want to smile when you do that. You want to be positive, upbeat. think about the last time you walked into a place of business and you got somebody behind the counter who was, yeah, what do you want? You know, they're slunched over, they have no body language, they don't look at you. What type of impression does that leave you with? Me, it's like, hey, I have no problem being rude to those people. Matter of fact, I don't even want to go there again. But you walk into a place of business and they give you that super greeting and they smile at you, they look at you in the eye. That's what I want. And you have to be a real jerk to be rude to that person. So when you give a really good positive greeting when you answer the phone, people are, you know, it's going to be tough for them to be rude to you. They will be more positive than negative. And when we listen to phone calls and salespeople do these right, I'm amazed at how many times the customers will comment on the salesperson. They'll be like, wow, I love your greeting, or I like how optimistic you are, or I like how upbeat you are. People will actually comment on your greeting, and that's what gets the call going in the right direction. So make sure you set that bar high. And if you think about it, it might be the 40th phone call you've asked or answered today, but for that one customer calling in, it might be the first time they've ever called your dealership, you know. And, Eliana, if there's one person that you could have dinner with tonight, you know, famous, you know, maybe a world leader, who do you want to have dinner with tonight?
Who would I want to have dinner with tonight? You mean other than you?
Yes, other than you, your husband.
I don't know. Let's go with Brad Pitt. Sure, why not?
Okay. So, Eliana, if you knew, if your husband said, Eliana, Brad Pitt's on line 1, go ahead and take up, would you maybe answer that phone a little bit differently?
I don't know if I'd say it's a terrific day. This is Eliana. How may I help you? But I definitely would.
You would think about the way you answered that phone, and you would try to give your best greeting. Well, I tell you, Eliana, every time you answer the phone, I want you to think it's Brad Pitt calling you to take you out to dinner, okay? And I guarantee you, when you answer your phone, you will be more professional and upbeat. It's just like, you know, if you worked at the dealership and you knew the owner of your dealership was calling you, you might answer that phone call a little bit differently as well. And so every time your phone rings, no matter what type of call it is, you should give them that wow factor greeting and be positive and upbeat. Now, before we even answer the phone, we should be prepared. What do I mean by be prepared? How about we have our script handy? We have a smile on our face. We have a pen and paper handy because we're going to write down some notes as we're talking to our customer. I'm not a big fan of salespeople getting on a computer while they're talking to a customer. If I had my way, when your phone rang, I would turn the computer off because the only thing that does is it distracts you from listening to your customer. You're now engaging your computer and not your customer. Chances are the customer already has the car pulled up on their computer screen, and you're not going to see anything different than what they're currently seeing. So I don't like using the computer when I get that call. How else? Well, let's also go out and look at our inventory on occasion. I encourage salespeople to walk their used car lot on a daily basis to know what's out there. I will tell you that more calls come in on pre-owned cars than new cars, so know your pre-owned inventory. And most importantly, know your advertising. Nothing worse than when we hear a phone call and the customer's calling in to go, hey, I'm calling about that ad you have in the paper. And then the salesperson goes, oh, cool, we got an ad in the paper. What's it say? And all of a sudden the customer has to start explaining the ad to the salesperson. Think about how unprofessional you look. So you should know what's in print. You should know what's on radio, TV. You should know what's on your website. You should certainly know what the specials are from the manufacturers. I'll often call a Chevrolet dealership middle of the month. I go, hey, do you have any lease specials on the Malibu? Geez, I don't know. Let me go check. Hey, this is information that you should have handy, that you should know. And if your bosses aren't giving it to you, go to them and demand it. Or go out and do the research and get that information yourself. You should also know what your competition is doing for advertising. If you want to beat them, you need to know what they're up to as well. And when you take these phone calls, make sure you're ready to take them. Are you at your desk? Do you have your tools handy? I actually had one time an operator transferred a phone call to a guy's cell phone, and the customer asked if the car was available, and the salesperson goes, well, I'm in the bathroom right now. Can I call you back later? And the guy goes, yeah, sure, let me give you my number. He goes, hold on, let me get some toilet paper to write on. And I'm like, oh, my God, can you imagine the vision that that customer is imagining? So make sure you're ready to take a phone call when you take that phone call. Otherwise, let one of your fellow sales reps take that call. So let's dazzle them with a great greeting before we move into step 2. Now, step 2 is all about qualifying your customer, finding out what their needs are. And this is a very important step. Now, there's 2 different types of qualifying. There's what I refer to as generic qualifying, and there's what I refer to as specific qualifying. With the first one, we're going to funnel out. With the second one, we're going to funnel in, and then the second one, we're going to funnel out. So let's do this, Eliana. Let's give away some more cookies.
I'm ready.
Let's ask for a volunteer who wants to do some new car qualifying with me. They have to do this correctly in order to win the cookies. So go ahead and find us a volunteer, and then I'll find out what type of dealership they work for, and I'll ask them a question. They can then qualify me.
Okay, if anyone out there would like to volunteer, you have to have a microphone, and you have to be ready to qualify for a car, right? Is that it?
They're going to ask you some qualifying questions about the car I'm interested in.
About the car they're interested in. Of course, some people don't have microphones, and I appreciate that, and I'm sorry. We don't often do this, but hey, this is a very interactive one. So let's go with Joshua Joseph. Joshua, you have a microphone, correct? Joshua, if you could write back in before I unmute you.
Go ahead and unmute him. Let's take a risk.
Well, what if he doesn't have a microphone, dude?
Yeah, he won't do that.
Okay, he says he does. He says he does. He says he does. So let me come over here and do my little webinar magic over here. Joshua Joseph. Unmuting. Joshua, say hi. Joshua, you there? Joshua?
He thinks he has a microphone, but he doesn't have a microphone. So who's the next volunteer?
Okay. Sorry, Joshua. Sorry you missed out on that one. Okay, next one is Joel. Joel Kasser. Joel, you swore to me you have a microphone, so I'm going to unmute you. Joel, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Yay! We have someone. I got someone for you, Jerry.
Joel, what dealership do you work at? I think I know which one you work at, but what dealership?
You know me, Jerry. I work at Prestige Volvo in East Hanover, New Jersey.
All right, so that's exactly where I thought you worked. Joel, I am interested in a Volvo wagon.
All right, that's great to hear. Now, before let's get a couple of questions out of the way. First, let me ask you: are you interested in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive?
I would prefer one with all-wheel drive, Joel.
All-wheel drive, that's great. And we're looking for something with a leather interior or a cloth interior on it?
Leather preferred.
All right, perfect. And were you looking for something in a lighter color or a darker color?
I'm looking for something in a lighter shade.
All right, lighter shade's good. And did you prefer something in an automatic or a manual transmission?
Automatic would be preferred.
Perfect. Well, I mean, based on what it is that you're looking for, I do have great availability of the vehicle.
Okay, let's stop you right there, Joel. You did do a good job asking me 4 good qualifying questions. So good job, and we're going to give you the cookies. Even though there was one, we'll talk about that in a second, okay?
All right.
With generic qualifying.
Oh wait. I'm gonna mute you back up, Joel. But send me your address, your mailing address, okay?
Sure.
Thanks.
All right. So with generic qualifying, we're going to ask a series of A/B choice questions. And by asking these questions in a choice methodology, it allows you to take control, and the customer has to pick the A or the B. And it shows that you're interested in uncovering what your customer's needs are so that you can prescribe the right solution for them. You'll find that people will follow your lead when you ask these A/B questions. It's like, Eliana, as your son gets a little older in life, you're going to find that even with children, when you say to your child, hey, would you like to take a bath now or would you like to take a bath half an hour from now, that they will pick one of the 2 choices. Or if you just said, hey, do you want to take a bath, it's going to be no. So give your child choices. Even when you want to take your spouse out to dinner, if you go, hey, honey, where do you want to go for dinner tonight? 15 minutes later, you'll be having an argument about where you're going to go to dinner. Whereas if you said, Would you like to go to the Olive Garden or the Outback tonight? It's easier for people to pick when you give them choices. So give those people choices when they call in on a car. Now, Joel, you could have actually started with me when I said I'm looking for a Volvo. You could have said, are you looking for a new one or a pre-owned one? Okay, so start with the bigger picture and then narrow from there. Now, let's say I said new one. You could have then said, you did ask me if I was looking for all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive, which was a great question. You asked the leather, the cloth, and then you said lighter or darker color. I like to avoid the word color because it specifies one specific color. Instead, I encourage you to use the word shade. That way they can't pick a specific color. And if somebody does go, hey, I want a black one, well, I want to see if I can get some flexibility out of them, and I'll say to them something like, well, if I could save you some money, what would your second or third color choice be? And notice I preface that with a what's in it for them statement. If I could save you some money. When you want to get something from somebody, give them a what's in it for them statement. And when I say that, you might be more apt to say, well, blue or green. You might give me a couple more choices when I preface it like that. Okay? You don't have to ask 20 different qualifying questions, but just ask enough to show the customer that you're interested in what their needs are. And then you ended with one more question. I forget exactly what it was, but I usually save the shade one for last. And these are also good opportunities for you to build rapport with your customers. The customer said to me, well, I want to have the third row seat in my wagon because I've got 5 kids. And they're like, oh, how old are they? I have one. Mine's 11. Where do yours go to school? Try to find common ground with your customer. When you can find common ground, it makes that customer open up to you a little bit more, trust you, and because you're like them, they're more likely to possibly, make that appointment with you. So look for common ground. Somebody says, hey, I'm towing, I need a tow package. Oh, where do you get any towing? I have a boat. What kind of boat do you have? Where do you like to take that? Build that rapport with your customer because it's going to help you bring that customer to your dealership. Now, I'll give you a little quick example of qualifying and how it works. And I'm going to take myself outside the car industry and tell you about a story. One day I was sick, and I decided I was going to go to a CVS to get some cold medicine. And I walked into CVS, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, my God, look at all this stuff I could buy. I was confused. Too many choices. And when there are too many choices, people have a hard time making a decision. So I went to the pharmacy counter, and I said to the gal, I go, is anybody can help you with some cold medicine? And this one gal goes, yeah, I'll help you. And she comes out, and she's walking down the aisle. She goes, you can get this, you can get this, you can get this. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, I just did that. And so I go, well, if anybody knows more about this? And she goes, the pharmacist. I go, can I talk to them? So another gal comes out. She goes, she introduces herself to me and says to me, Jerry, so I can best recommend the solution for you, let me ask you a few questions. Do you have a cough? I go, well, a little bit of a cough, not bad. She goes, what about a stuffy nose? Do you have a stuffy nose? I go, oh, yeah, I definitely got one of those. She goes, do you have a fever? I go, I think so. She asks me some more questions. Yeah, you definitely have a fever. She goes, do you want something that's going to help you sleep tonight? I go, absolutely, but I need to be alert for the rest of the day. She goes, oh, I know exactly what you need. And she picks a product off the shelf, starts telling me about it, and tells me about the active ingredients. Well, how confident do you think I am as a consumer that I'm now making a good choice? Because she took the time to uncover my needs. And that's what we're doing with our customers on these phone calls, is we're uncovering their needs. And you can do this with Internet leads as well. To me, an Internet lead is nothing more than a phone up when you get them on the phone. So when that Internet lead comes in, pick up the phone and call them and fill in the blanks from that Internet lead. What other information are you missing? Qualify your customer. Now, let's say that, Joel, when you did the qualifying with me, if you knew that you did not have a 5-speed or a 5-speed Volvo in stock, then you would have skipped right over that question. That's not a question that you want to ask. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself to something that you don't have. So if you know you don't have it, don't even ask that qualifying question. And then you were quick to tell me that, hey, we have a lot of those available. You never want to tell the customer that you have availability until after you've received their name and number, which is step 3, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Right, so that's generic qualifying. You don't want to guess at product knowledge. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Tell the customer, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one. Let me find that out for you. And then just deflect it and continue on. Tell them you'll get that information for them. But never guess at something that you're not sure of. So that's generic qualifying. Specific qualifying is a little bit different. This is a customer, and by the way, this is the highest volume call that we hear coming into dealerships. People calling on a very specific car. And we actually hear this happen. A customer will go, hey, I'm calling on that 2007 Jeep Compass. And the salesperson will go, oh, yeah, we just sold that one. And then the customer goes, oh, man, bummer. How much you guys sell it for? $13,900. Wow, that was a great deal, huh? Yeah, it was a really nice one. Now we're rubbing salt in the wound. And the customer goes, okay, well, thanks anyways. Bye. And the salesperson hangs up on that customer. And then, I go and look on their website, and there's like 20 other SUVs that would probably fit the bill. So it's our job to uncover what else that customer is looking at so that we can potentially have the opportunity to sell them more than one vehicle. And people are considering other options. When I sold cars back in the 80s, people would actually walk into my dealership on a Saturday with a newspaper, and they would go, hey, I'm here to look at this car. Go, let me see that. I'd take their newspaper from them. Why? Because I would want to see all the other cars they had circled. And now they might be coming to look at a Honda with me, but then I see they have a Toyota and a Nissan circled. Well, hey, I've got those cars on my lot. I'm going to show those to them as well while they're here. But the first thing that we want to do when we get that phone call, a customer goes, hey, do you have that 2009 Honda Accord, the blue one? Is that available? This is the first thing I'm going to say to them. I'm going to go, oh, yeah, that's a really nice one. We've had a few calls on that one recently. Well, think about what I'm doing when I say that. I'm telling the customer exactly what they want to hear, that the car's a nice one. And then when I say we've had a few calls on that one recently, I'm creating a sense of urgency, meaning that the customer probably should come in sooner than later, so that when I do go to ask for an appointment, they're more likely to make it sooner than later. And when I say, oh, that's a really nice one, I can't tell you how many times we've heard customers on phone calls ask a salesperson, is it a nice car? Because they're looking for a reason to come to your dealership, or they're looking for a reason to rule you out. And we actually hear salespeople go, yeah, it's okay. Well, I'm not coming in to look at the, yeah, it's just okay one, all right? So that's why we need to play it up and talk positive about that car. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to take you outside the car industry and tell you a little bit a story here, how this got used on me one day. I was out, it was that really first nice spring day in March, when things start warming up in the north, and it was like 70 degrees out, and I just wanted to be outside. So I went outside, decided, hey, my grass is looking a little dingy. Let me rake up some of those leaves and some of the dead grass that's out there. And I noticed that a couple of my maple trees, there was no grass growing into the trees. It was all dirt and roots. So I got thinking, hey, maybe I should get some topsoil in here before the leaves come out and get some grass growing. And so I go into the house, I open up the yellow pages, and I'm not even thinking about being a phone trainer. And what's important to me when I buy dirt? Well, there were three things: price, quality of the dirt, and how quickly can I get it, delivery. And if you think about it, that's important in any industry. Eliana, if you were going to be buying a new computer today, you'd want to know how much it was, is it a good quality computer, and can I have it now? If you were going to buy a new pocketbook, it would be, how much is that pocketbook? Is it a good brand name? Is it good quality? And when can I get it? And this certainly applies to the car industry. So I call my first dirt vendor, and I go, hey, I'm looking for some dirt. And he goes, well, how much dirt do you need? I go, I don't know, dump truck full? He goes, whoa. He goes, that's a lot of dirt. I go, well, he goes, tell me about your project. So I told him what I was going to do. He goes, I'd recommend you get about 6 cubic yards. That should take care of the job. I go, okay. I go, how's the quality of your dirt? Well, this is what he said to me. He goes, well, it's kind of muddy right now. It's been raining out. I go, yeah, I guess it has been. I go, when can I get it? He goes, probably next week when it dries out. And then without even thinking, this is what I said to him. I go, well, look, you're the first place I call. I'll get back to you if I'm interested. And I hung up on him. Why did I hang up on him? Because he did not execute on points 2 and 3, quality and delivery. He did not tell me what I wanted to hear. So I went to the next dirt vendor. And so I get the second guy on the phone. I go, and now, by the way, I sound like a dirt connoisseur because I go, I need 6 cubic yards of dirt. I sound like a professional. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. And that's what happens in the car business. They call the first car dealership, and they're clueless. They call the second car dealership, hey, now they've been armed with a little bit of information. By the time they call the third, fourth, and fifth dealership, they're experts. They can probably be doing as good of a job as you are. So people learn as they go through this process. So I call my second guy. I go, I need 6 cubic yards of dirt. I go, how much? He goes, $175. And by the way, the other guy was the exact same price. I asked him how much as well. He said $175. And so I asked the second guy, I go, how's the quality of your dirt? And he goes, and this is exactly how he goes, this is the best earth you've ever worked with. Rich, dark farmland. He goes, you ought to see the worms crawling around in it, which is a sign of good dirt. Well, this piqued my interest. I actually visualized a handful of dirt. And I go, when can I get it? He goes, how's tomorrow sound? I go, sign me up, just like that. I bought from the guy. Why? Because he executed all 3 points. The price was right, the quality sounded good, and the delivery was right. So I bought from that guy. And, you know, this is what happens in the car industry. They call dealership 1, you're terrible on the phone. They call dealership 2, you're terrible on the phone. Well, they will keep calling until they hear what they want to hear. And let's say I call 4 or 5 different dealerships and you're all terrible on the phone. Well, I'm going to go to the guy who's closest to me then. I go, whoever sounded the least worst. And, you know, that dirt got dropped off in my driveway, and it didn't look like anything special to me. And if a guy can make dirt sound sexy on the phone, we certainly ought to be able to do a really good job of making a car sound sexy. Because there's more tangible material there with a car than there is a pile of dirt.
Did you see any worms in it?
No, when I spread that dirt, there were no worms in it. But you know what? It grew grass. I was happy in the end. But I tell that story because there's a lot of similarities between that and when people call car dealerships. Car dealers do a better job of talking people out of coming to the dealership than they do talking them into coming to the dealership. And I'll hear customers call up on an ad in the paper. They'll see a lease special. Hey, I'm calling about the lease special, $199 a month. And then the salesperson goes, yeah, but you got to put $3,000 down plus tax. You know, it's like the customer didn't ask that information, but yet we want to divulge all the fine print. Well, this is like playing cards, folks. You do not give away your hand unless asked to play it, okay? So do not give out information unless it's solicited for. Somebody's calling out a pre-owned car. You don't go, oh, you mean the blue one with 87,000 miles on it, that one? Well, you're going to demotivate that person from wanting to come to your dealership when you tell them 87,000 miles. So unless I specifically ask for something, do not give it to them, right? And then after I usually will go right into step 3, get the customer's name and number, and then I will circle back and I will say to the customer, hey, while I'm checking on that Jeep Compass, let me ask you, is it specifically and only a Jeep Compass you're looking for, or would there be other SUVs that you might be open to, especially if I had something nice and could save you some money? For instance, if I had, and then rattle off a couple other vehicles. And if somebody does show interest in other vehicles, I would say, great, I'm glad I know that you have a little flexibility. Let me ask you a couple other questions so I better understand your needs. And then you can go right back to generic qualifying and say something like, now, does it have to be a four-wheel drive, or would you be open to two-wheel drive? How about cloth or leather? And you do a little qualifying with your customer so that you get them thinking outside the box. And if you don't have the car they're calling in on, you best do a good job of seeing what else they're interested in. And it brings me back to a story one time when I had a lady call me. I was at a dealership. A lady calls me on a Nissan Maxima. Jerry, that's all I want. I'm just looking for a Nissan Maxima. And I tried to get her thinking outside the box. She wouldn't. I said, wow. I go, it's really too bad that you're stuck on the Maxima because I have the perfect car for you. And she's like, and when I said that, what did I want her to say? I wanted her to say, well, what is it? And I go, and this is what I said to her. I go, you know what? I go, I'm not going to tell you. I go, but I know this, based on what you just told me, I know this car would be perfect for you. And I go, I tell you what, if you agree to come in and look at it, and if you don't like this car, matter of fact, if you don't buy this car, I will fill your tank up with gas. And I know that when you get here, you're going to fall in love with this car. And she's like, all right, you've got me intrigued. And I made the appointment with her. And the car that I showed her was a Volkswagen Passat loaded up, beautiful car, low miles, and it was actually a great price point. lady came in, drove the car, fell in love with it, and bought it on the spot. So you got to be creative and get those people into your dealership, even if you don't have the exact car they're looking for, right? And then, before you tell them about the availability of the car, you're going to use that availability to get the customer to give you their name and phone number. If you want something from somebody, give them a reason to give it to you. A lot of salespeople fail when it comes to name and number. It's because they ask the wrong way, like too early in the call. Who am I speaking to, please? Well, that's obtrusive. That's people. They don't trust us yet. They don't want to give us their name and number, so don't ask too early. And if they do give you their name, it's only going to be their first name. A lot of salespeople wait till the very end of the call to ask for the name and number, and they'll go, they'll even hear it and say it like this. They'll go, hey, so I can log you in my system, what's your name and number? You know, well, there's no benefit to me to give you that information. I mean, we even hear some people go, hey, I know you probably won't give it to me, but can I get your name and number? You know, they ask in such a negative way that they get a negative result. When you ask for something, you need to do it in an assumptive, confident manner. Right? And for those of you that think doing this one, in case the call gets disconnected, what's the best number for me to reach you at? Well, the number one response to that we hear is, oh, if that happens, I'll just call you back. Okay? So this is how we're going to ask for the name and number. Right? I'm going to say, Eliana, so I don't waste your time, let me check on the availability of that vehicle. That should take me about 10 minutes. That 10 minutes implies that I'm going to have to hang up on you and call you back, which we're not in fact going to do, but that's the perception that I want to paint to you. Right? So let me do you a favor, Eliana, so I don't waste your time. Let me check on the availability of this vehicle, and I'll also see if we have any others coming in as well. That's going to take me about 10 minutes. Are you calling from home or work? Notice I give an A-B choice there. Again, this whole phone call is all about A-B choices. Are you calling from home or work? There's no way that you can say no to that, and you go, I'm calling from home. And then I say, and that number is, in an assumptive manner, I don't say, can I get that number, which would imply yes or no. It's, and that number is, like it's natural for you to give it to me, and I will tell you that 90 to 95% of the time, the people will give you their phone number just like that, because they think you're going to call them back with what they want, which is information about that car. I then go for their name. So go for phone number first, name second. And when you go for name, you want to go for last name first, first name last. And you put people in alpha mode. So you'll say to your customer, how do I spell your last name correctly? And your first name is. See, people are very proud of their last name, and they'll gladly spell it for you when you put them in alpha mode. Okay? Now, we've implied that we're going to hang up on them. Okay? And that is, in fact, the worst thing to do, because if you hang up on your customer, and this is something that salespeople do quite often, well, guess what? That customer is going to call another dealership. They're going to, you call them back, they're not going to answer, or you get busy and totally forget to call them back. We actually hear a lot of that. We'll hear the customer call in on one phone call, and an hour later, we'll hear them call back. Yeah, I talked to somebody at the dealership. They were supposed to call me back. They never did. You know, you get busy. You forget to call the customer back. So we do not want to hang up on that customer. We want to keep that customer on the phone, and we're going to say to the customer, you can do one of two things here. You can say, my personal is, I just saw my manager walk by. He'll know if that car is available. Can you hold for a moment? Well, we have some salespeople that don't feel comfortable saying that if they don't see their manager walking by. So I always tell them, hey, take a picture of your manager and put it up on your computer. Then you can say, hey, I see my manager. He'll know if that car is available. But for those of you who don't want to do that, just simply say, I just thought of something. I can probably get this information for you right now. And you're going to put your customer on hold for about 15 seconds. Why do I put them on hold for 15 seconds? Because it makes them think that I'm actually going to check on the availability of that car for them. And I'm not going to go check the availability of that car for them. I'm going to assume that what the customer is calling in on is available, okay? And I will then go for the appointment. And when I make that appointment and hang up the phone, I will then go check availability. And if that car is not available, then I will call the customer back and cancel the appointment, okay? I will tell you that 86% of the time, people will buy a different car than what they call in on. You can't do that unless you get the customer to your dealership. So if I sense the customer has flexibility, even if I don't have the car they're looking at, I'll bring them in. If they've expressed interest in other vehicles, I will bring them in. If they're calling on a brand new Chevy Malibu and they wanted a black one with tan interior, I will tell them I have that car available. Even though I don't have it on the lot, I will bring them in. And when they go, where's the black one? I go, well, that one's coming in, but I have a blue one just like it that you can drive. Because I know that people will often sacrifice color for availability. If I can take it home with me today, I might go with a blue one instead of a black one. But you can't do that unless you get the customer to your dealership. So make that appointment. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. For instance, Mini Cooper is a car that when people call on a Mini Cooper, that's generally the only vehicle that they want. They won't consider anything else. And let's say I had a Mini Cooper on my lot a week ago. I would still play dumb with them. I would go through this phase of getting your name and number. I would put them on hold. And then I would come back and say, folks, unfortunately, that Mini Cooper that you called in on, it's not available. We did sell it a while back. I do have your name and number. Should I come across another one, I'll certainly call you should we get one. I would also like to invite you into our dealership because we have a program where our used car manager will buy you the exact car you're looking for. We have the availability to buy from hundreds of different auctions and locations online and in person, and there's a good chance we can get you the exact car you're looking for. In order to do that, we need to meet with you. When would be a good time for you to come to our dealership so we can arrange this? And then go for that appointment. See if they're not willing to come in, okay? All right, so that's obtaining contact information. After we get the contact information, we put the customer on hold. We then come back and we go, thank you for holding. Great news. If it's a specific car, that Honda Accord you called in on, it's available. And we have some others similar that we'd like to show you as well. Now, speaking of being available, when are you more available, now or later today? Notice again my A/B choice. If the call is on a generic vehicle, they're calling about, pre-owned Chevy or new Chevy Malibus. Great news. We have great availability on the Malibus. And speaking of being available, when are you more available, now or later today? Notice I use that word available a lot, okay? And I give my customer two choices. If the call comes in early in the day, it's when you're more available, now or later today. If the call comes in later in the day, when you're more available, today or tomorrow. And let your customer pick. If the customer says, I'm available tomorrow, then I'm going to pick a time frame of the day. I'm not going to give them two times yet. I want to find out, is morning or afternoon going to be better? Right? Narrow it down. And then I'm going to give them two times. And when I give my times, we're going to go with the 1:15 or the 2:45. And the reason why is there was a study done by dentists to figure out if they could figure out when people would show up on time for their appointments more likely. Well, it was determined that they had a higher show percentage on time when the appointments were done on the 15 and the 45 versus the hour and the half hour. So that's why we go those oddball times. And when you do these times, at least put an hour and a half in between your times. Don't go 1:15, 1:45. That implies that you only work with your customers for about half an hour. Water break. Hold on one sec. All right. You can also go 1:15, 3:45, 1:15, 4:45. When you spread it out, you're more likely, it's a shotgun effect, you're more likely to hit something in somebody's target zone. Whereas when you make it small and narrow, you're not going to hit their target zone. Now, when I ask for the appointment, I'm going to do it very methodically like this. I'm going to say, what are you more available, this morning or this afternoon? They go, afternoon. I go, I'm looking at my appointment book, and I see that I have an opening at, I got one at 1:15, and I have another one at 2:45. Now, when I was doing that, what were you envisioning? You were envisioning me looking at my appointment book, which is the vision that I'm trying to sell my customers. I want them to envision me looking at my appointment book, more likely to come in for their appointment at that time, okay? Now, we need to be prepared to ask for that appointment more than once. Sometimes I've had to ask for appointments 3, 4, 5 times before I get them. Let's say that I ask for the appointment and the customer says to me, they say, well, Jerry, how much money do I have to put down on that vehicle? I will answer their question, but as soon as I answer their question, I will then ask for the appointment again. So whenever you give what I refer to as a value proposition statement, you follow it up with asking for the appointment. You say something positive, don't just stop there and wait to see what they say. Ask for the appointment again. And if you can't get a real appointment, go for a tentative appointment. Okay, tentative appointments become like real appointments. Does anybody want to guess? Here's another cookie prize. Anybody want to guess the number one reason why people won't make an appointment with you? Number one reason people will not make an appointment with you, other than simply not asking, because that's the obvious. If you don't ask, you don't get. But if you ask for the appointment, what's the number one reason why people won't make?
All right, people, now's your time to write in. Let's see if we can get you some cookies. Anyone who comes in with the first correct response is going to win. You know what? We have a winner. We have a winner. Yeah, we have a winner. We have a winner. But I'll read you what other people wrote, if you would like.
Yeah, read a couple.
Okay. So, fear. I volunteer. I don't know what that means. Michael Jester wrote in with talk to spouse.
That's the winner. Michael Jester's our cookie winner right there.
Michael Jester's our winner. Nikki wrote in, we don't ask more than once. Dana, they don't want to commit. Heather said work. Chuck, they don't have all the info or they don't like. Ricky said...
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously multiple reasons, but I will tell you that when people do want to come in, the number one reason why they won't commit to that appointment is the spouse. You know, or we just haven't given them a good enough reason to make an appointment. We didn't do our job in that phone call. Because I will tell you that when we listen to phone ninjas around the country, and we've got a bunch of them, when they do the script verbatim, like we teach it, it's amazing. I'm amazed at how many, I mean, we got people that are setting appointments in the 80 to 90% range. So when you do it right, you're going to get it. But you are going to get those people that have to check with their spouse. And I like to use what I refer to as a pacing and leading technique to get the appointment. So pacing is when you align yourself with somebody and make yourself seem like them. And then leading is giving them a reason, leading them to what you want them to do. So, Eliana, if you were to say to me, well, Jerry, I really can't come in. I can't make an appointment because I want to talk to my husband. He's going to be part of this decision. Well, here's how I would pace and lead you. I would say, Eliana, that makes a lot of sense to me. You know, I was married once, and I know that if I ever bought a car without first checking with my wife, she would have been very upset. So I can appreciate exactly where you're coming from. You know, Eliana, it does get very busy at our dealership. Now I'm leading you. And the last thing I want to do is have you and your husband come in and waste your time waiting for me or another salesperson. Let's do this. Let's pick a tentative time for you to come in. That way when you do come in with your husband, we'll have the car ready to show you, and we'll be waiting for you. Now, you know his schedule better than I do. When is he more available, today or tomorrow? Well, you're going to be more likely to make that appointment with you when I take that approach. All right? So the main point, though, is ask for that appointment more than once. Circle back and handle their objection. And objection handling is, you know, you need to get good at that. And there are only so many objections that you're going to hear on a phone call. And I'm not going to have time today to go over all of them, but, you know, price is a big one. Believe it or not, we only hear the price objection, what's your best price, about less than 10% of the time. And if the customers are talking about price, it's usually because you're leading them there, okay? But maybe in the questions later when we open this up to questions, if you have some objections that you want to bounce off me, I'll certainly show you how to handle those objections. But
they're already coming in, Jerry. Don't worry.
Okay. Save them for when we go to questions and answers, okay? But I will tell you the best way to handle objection is to not get the objection in the first place. And I'll tell you that when you are on script, using your script, you will find that you will face fewer and fewer objections. All right, let's go to step 6, driving towards closure. This is the step where you're going to sell the customer your information. I guarantee you there are salespeople out there getting skated or losing deals left and right because they don't do a good job selling their information to the customer. And if you want somebody to remember your name, you've got to get them to write it down. The simple act of writing a name down is going to, they're 3 times more likely to memorize your name when you get them to write it down. It's not that they have to bring the piece of paper in with them. It's just writing the name down will help it convert to long-term memory. names generally go into short-term memory, and we forget them very quickly. Right? So get them to write it down. But if you tell somebody, hey, write my name down, you're then going to hear this. They're going to drop their pencil because they're going to think, hey, I can remember that. So I like to go to the customer, do you have a pencil handy? I have something important for you to write down. I'll wait. And why do I say pencil? Because most people don't have a pencil. They go, well, I got a pen. I go, that'll work. Perfect. Ready? Write this down, please. T-H-I-B as in boy, E-A-U, Thibeau. That's my last name. My first name is Jerry. Okay? And then I'll go, my phone number is, I give them my phone number, a direct dial number, and I'm adding a step here from what you see on the slide. I then go, I'm going to send you an email with some information. Should I send that to your home or your work email address? Notice once again, I'm giving them an A-B choice there, okay? And what am I going to send them for information? Well, it's not going to be information about the car, because if I do that, I might demotivate them from coming in. My email to them is a simple, thank you for calling, thank you for scheduling an appointment, we look forward to seeing you at, here are directions to my dealership, here's my contact information. If I don't have the appointment, then I will send an email with more information about the car. And by the way, if you can't get a real appointment or a tentative appointment, then you need to go for a phone appointment. Ask your customer, when would be a better time for me to call you back? So before you get off that phone, you have one of the three, either a real appointment, tentative appointment, or a phone appointment. Then after I get the customer's email address, I go, now your appointment's at, and I pause for a moment. Why? Because I want them to fill in the blank. If they go 1:15, I now know they know it. If they hesitate, I go, oh, that's right, 1:15. Let me write that in my appointment book as well. And do me a favor, if you're running a little early or a little late, please call me because I'll be expecting you at, and I'll repeat the appointment time a second time. Matter of fact, I will try and repeat the appointment 3 times on the phone call, ingraining it into their memory. Because I will tell you, I have called to make a haircut appointment, hung up the phone, walked away, and then like, oh shoot, what time did I just make that for? Heck, people forget, and that's why they often won't come in. It's because they've been forgotten about the appointment. And I will tell you that show ratios are a funny thing. If you want people to show for their appointment, make the appointment sooner. The sooner you make the appointment, the higher the show ratio. There are other variables that affect the show ratio, like the traffic in your city. Bigger cities have lower show ratios. Somebody's driving from 2 hours away, that's a lower show ratio. There are some things that you just can't manage when it comes to show ratios, but getting the appointment sooner than later is one of those things that you can do. And then the final step, oh, by the way, before I go to the final step, there's a couple other variations to this that you can do. If you know that somebody's driving in their car, well, I'm not going to ask them to write something down. They're going to kill somebody driving. So I will simply say to them, hey, I know you're on your cell phone right now, driving. As soon as we get off the phone, I'm going to send you a text message with some information so that you know who to ask for when you get to the dealership. And then send them a text message. Or you could say to somebody, do me a favor, when you get to the dealership, ask for me. My name is Jerry Thibeau. And if you forget my name when you get here, don't worry. Right when you walk in the front door, we have a receptionist. Go up to the receptionist. Let her know that you're here for an appointment. And tell her your name, and she'll be able to tell you who you're going to be meeting with. Okay? And then make sure somebody at your dealership has a list of your appointments. Right? That's another good technique that you can use.
We have some other people who are writing in some suggestions too. So
okay.
Jim Bell said, Jim Bell said to text a picture of your business card to the customer. That's a good one. Joshua Joseph says he uses a stage name or a prop to remember him. So he'll say, I'm Joshua Joseph, the boy with 2 first names.
You know, and that's a good one. I actually use it when people have not met me, they don't know me, and I tell them my name is Jerry Thibeau. I go, think of Thibeau, like that quarterback, that famous quarterback. You know, so yes, little triggers like that will help people remember you. So good topic, good points there. Any others?
He said, Joshua also wrote back again, he says he knew an old guy that used the quote, the guy with the pink carnation. And he had all of his work shirts embroidered with a pink carnation.
Hey, whatever works. You know, there are some people out there that have really tough names. Like I came across a dealership.
Like Eliana Raggio, maybe?
Yeah, well, I came across a dealership that had some guys from Nigeria, and it was almost impossible to pronounce and understand their names. I'm like, guys, you guys want to be more successful, we're going to have to give you some American-sounding names. And so we came up, we created new names for them that were their dealership stage names. And they got back to me like a month later, and they go, that was the best thing I ever did. So, yeah, sometimes if you have a really tough name, you have to come up with a nickname for yourself or something that's going to set you apart or make you stand out.
Yeah, Norma wrote in. She says, my name is Norma Jean, and I tell him to remember Marilyn Monroe. And Caleb wrote in. He says he sends an email to the client with his contact information and a picture of himself. So that's pretty good.
I like that too, because if they forget your name, they'll certainly remember what you look like. Right? So it's all good stuff.
Ricky wrote in. He says he tells them his name is Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. Now, if I was really ugly, I might not put a picture of myself out there. All right, let's move along.
Okay.
Directions to the dealership. Never assume the customer knows where they're going, because I will tell you, when people are shopping, they often will get on AutoTraderCars.com, and they'll be looking at 5, 6 different cars, calling different dealerships. They get confused with who they're talking to. So I might think that I'm calling ABC Motors, but I, in fact, have XYZ Motors on the phone. I make the appointment, and if they're going to XYZ Motors, I go to ABC Motors, and I go, DealerOn here, and they go, we got nobody with that name here. It's because I drove to the wrong dealership. So even when people tell you, hey, I know where you are, I'll still go, oh, which direction are you coming from? And I make them take the mental trip. Okay, so you're going to take Route 95. You're then going to get off at exit. Yep, that's right. You're then going to take, yep, that's right. You're going to pull into our lot. I want you to park right there in front, walk through that front door. I'm wearing a blue suit today with a white shirt, red tie, 6 foot tall, brown hair. You can't miss me. Matter of fact, what kind of car are you driving so I can keep an eye out for you? That's directions. And also, don't forget to ask for an advertising source. At any point in the call, you can say to the customer, by the way, how did you hear about our dealership? And then make a note of that and enter that into your CRM system so that your management can effectively know what's driving traffic to your dealership. Thus, they will better be able to understand how to spend their advertising dollars. And those are the 7 steps to a phone call. And I will tell you that a lot of people out there are achieving a 20% or less appointment ratio. And this is costing your dealership money. You need to know what your closing ratio is. You should be tracking what percentage of my people are getting names and numbers. What percentage of people am I making appointments with? What percentage of people are showing? What are my closing ratios? And we actually like to score phone calls. We call it a PSI score, your phone skills index. And the higher your PSI, the higher the ratio. And I can tell you that this slide goes back to August from when we last did our webinar. But you know, we've been tracking what PSI scores equate to in appointments. And this particular dealership that I pulled up here is the dealer in blue. You can see that when they score below a 2, they don't make any appointments whatsoever. When they score, kind of odd, it's kind of a fluke thing. They probably had a couple calls that did, that made appointments here. But when they score between 3.5 and a 4, they're making the appointment 90% of the time. And that's a fluke because the average dealership only does it about 50% of the time. But look at how high the appointment ratios are on people that score between a 4.5 and a 5. 90% appointment ratios. So know what you're saying to the customers and learn from your experiences and get better. And some other little tidbits that I'll share with you. The types of calls that we're seeing. 65% of all calls that come in are on a very specific pre-owned vehicle. 13% on a generic vehicle, and about 18% on a new vehicle. Keep track. Every time we hear somebody say, hey, what's your best price? We keep track of that. And on average, it's less than 9% of the customers are looking for a best price. So they're not all looking for a best price. This is a new report. I have some better data than this. We're looking at what percentage of men versus women are calling in. And industry-wide, it's about 59% versus 33% women. And there are those that we just don't know whether they're a man or a woman. And then we're also tracking how successful are salespeople at dealerships. Like when a man talks to a man, how are they doing setting that appointment? When a woman talks to a man, how well do they do? How well does a woman do when she talks to a woman? And I can tell you that women, on average, are making more appointments than men. And there's probably a reason behind that. because there's more women working in BDCs, and they tend to be a little bit better trained than the men out there. So it's not to say that men or women are better than men, but right now we're finding that women are doing a better job than men. All right? Hold times. Those are important to your dealership. You know, this dealership is averaging less than 33 seconds, whereas the average dealer is about 40. We have some dealerships that are about a minute. And when your people are on hold for a minute, well, now you're falling right into what they expect, poor performance. And you're more likely to get a disgruntled customer the longer they hold. You know, I like to see hold times less than 20 seconds, so that's something that you should pay attention to as well. And before we ask the expert, let's go ahead and do our drawing for Hawaii, because I know we have some phone ninjas on the phone with us here today who are anxiously awaiting to see whether they're going to be this quarter's contest winner.
Right, and just so I can explain, this is only for people who are already in the Phone Ninjas program. What Jerry does, it's very, very nice of him, he gives away a trip to Hawaii, all expenses paid, plus some money, I believe, once a quarter, only to those people who qualify and get, what, a perfect 5 or something on a...
Yep. Anybody who scores a perfect 5, and there was actually 221 of them. So, and some of these people are on here more than once.
I saw one name on there that was there for 6 times, so she has 6 chances to win. But once a quarter he does, it's just another excellent reason for you to become a phone ninja yourself, and you might score one of these awesome trips to Hawaii. So he does it every quarter, and so now that Q4 2012 is over, he's the beginning of Q1 2013, so he figured, hey, why not? Let's give it away here live.
Well, yeah,
this is how he does it.
We're actually going to reward the Q4 winners. So of the, 221 people,
right.
Somebody from Q4 who scored a perfect 5.0 is going to win a trip to Hawaii for them and their significant other. They're going to get 6 nights of hotel. I'm going to pay for both their airfares, and they get $1,000 in spending cash. Megan won the contest in Q3, and Stephanie won the very first one that we did. And she's on the call today, and she actually got engaged when she was out there, so congratulations, Stephanie.
Yay!
She just got back from her trip, I believe, on the 1st. Megan has yet to book her trip, so I still owe her one. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to punch into our random number generator. We have, and there's no hokey pokey here, folks. You can go out and type in random.org and do this yourself. But as soon as I click generate, a number is going to come up, and that person is going to win the prize. Now, a couple of ground rules here. In order to win the prize, the salesperson still needs to be employed at that dealership. If that person is not employed at the dealership, then I give the prize to the next highest scoring ninja at that dealership. And if for some reason I pick a number who's no longer a current client, unfortunately they will not win that prize, and I will redraw the drawing again. So with that said, and by the way, Megan and Stephanie are not eligible to win the prize again for another year. They have to be 1 year removed from winning the prize before they are eligible again. So with that said, let's go ahead and click generate.
And good luck, everyone.
And number 66. I'm so excited. Let's see who 66
Let's
is.
see who 66 is.
Laura Solis from Cavender Toyota. Is Laura on the phone today with us?
I have no idea. Laura Solis, if you're here, we'd love to hear from you, and congratulations. If not, well, then Jerry's just going to have to get a hold of you some other time.
All right, well, I'll give her a call a little bit later to inform her of the prize that she's just won, but I'm sure she's going to be very excited. And we're going to do the exact same prize again for Q1, so keep scoring those perfect calls, and you will be entered in the contest to win a prize to Hawaii. And if for some reason I know Cavender Toyota is still a client, so this is a winner. Somebody at that dealership, hopefully it's Laura, she's still working there, is going to get that prize. Let's go ahead and open up the lines to questions now.
I think that's a great idea. We do have a few people who wanted to say thank you and hello and Happy New Year. So Tina, Ryan, Joshua. Oh, Paul said, too bad car people have no life and cannot get off to go to work or to go to Hawaii. So, Paul, maybe sometime.
Eliana, one more thing I want to point out before we get into the questions is if you want to get the scripts that I just talked about, if you come to my website and click on phone scripts, fill out a quick little form here, and you'll be then sent an email with links to all of our scripts online that you can print off and use for yourself. All right? And let's go ahead and open up the questions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, our first question came to us pretty early. It was from Jim, and he says, question for Jerry, what is the industry average in time to buy a used car from the first contact to a dealer? I read that verbatim, so hopefully you can
All right,
decipher that.
the numbers that I have are that 80% of all phone shoppers will purchase a car within 3 to 5 days of calling a dealership. So your window of opportunity is much shorter with a phone opportunity than it is with an internet customer. You know, these people aren't calling me for a hot dog and a Coke. You know, I don't wake up in the morning and go to my girlfriend, hey, what do you say we get the yellow pages out and shift some car dealers around? They're calling you for a reason. And the number one call we hear is on a specific pre-owned vehicle. And they know those cars won't be along for long, so your window of opportunity is 3 to 5 days. Within 10 days, 90% of them are going to buy. So act quickly.
Okay.
Next question.
All right, great question, Jim. Thank you so much for that. Got a question here from Shelby. Shelby says, do you have any data concerning the stimulus that leads to the first moment of truth?
Any data? Well, I will tell you that 76% of all shoppers are phoning dealerships. You know, I don't think anybody has any exact number as to how many are visiting the internet, but I got to think that number is north of 85%. You know, I think about my own experience, you know, recently buying a car. And, you know, the first thing I did was I went out and started doing research on the internet. You know, what do I want to buy? And started seeing if they had any specials. And then once I narrowed it down to what I wanted to buy, I then started calling dealerships and seeing if they had the vehicle. And then I went in. So, you know, more and more people are starting their shopping experience that way. And that's the best I can answer that question.
Thank you very much, Shelby. I hope that helps you out. Okay, next question. Well, before we get to the next question, Ryan wrote and he says, Jerry Weld County Garage would at least like a shout out for having the largest number of 5s in that contest. So thank you so much, Jerry Weld County Garage. You did a great job. Keep up the great work.
Weld County Garage is often in the top 10 scoring dealerships on my program, and they do an awesome job out there. They have a friendly little competition amongst themselves with their BDC gals and their internet team. They've got, I want to say 3 gals and then 3 internet guys, and they compete with each other to see who can get the best scores, and they do a great job out there. They make a lot of appointments. So well done, Weld County Garage. And I'm confident that one of these times, somebody like you, Cox Auto, Wesley Chapel, you know, one of those dealerships is going to win the prize because they often will have, you know, multiple entries on our program. So keep playing along, and you will eventually win.
Yeah, he says they have 6 ladies and 2 internet guys, and I have to say, honestly, I've never wanted to be a phone ninja so badly before in my life. So let's keep going with these questions. Okay, we have Rick, who wrote in, as a Honda Power Sports dealer, I get this a lot. What's your best out-of-the-door price? And I know they're just going through the phone book looking for the best price. So this is one of those times where you said, hey, tell me your objections that you're getting, and let me see if I can help you out.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the price one. The first thing I would say to that customer is, I understand getting a good price is important to you, but would you also like to get a great price on the one that you're going to trade in? If they have a trade, then you can deflect having to give them a best price, because it all depends about the trade difference. What is yours going to be worth? Let me tell you, we give great trade values here. You then start asking some questions about that vehicle, and as they give you the answers, oh, that sounds really nice, you remain positive, okay, and be upbeat. Then I could also say, you know, there's a lot of different ways they could save you money on this purchase. For instance, if I had more of one than another, like let's say I had 5 blue ones and 1 red one, which one do you think I could get you a better deal on? Obviously the blue one, because we got more of them than the red ones. So it's about supply and demand. And there are times when our manufacturers will have price increases or decreases, and I may have different options here on my lot, you know, like maybe one vehicle doesn't quite have the options that the other vehicle has. And as a professional that's been working here for 5 years, I know my inventory better than anybody. And if anybody's going to save you money on a Honda motorcycle, it's going to be me and my dealership. And let me tell you why. and then give the customer some value adds. Tell me what makes your dealership better than the other guy. Why should I come see you? What do you do for me? Do a good job of building value, and sometimes you can get a better price. So put some fun out there. Tell the customers, we're the largest volume motorcycle dealer in the area, and we didn't get that way without being aggressive on our pricing. When would be a good time for you to come in so I could help you, today or tomorrow? And my last line, your presence is your leverage. When are you available to come in so we can get you a great deal? Right? And if somebody just keeps hammering you for price, then I say give them a price. Because if you don't give them any price, you are, in fact, a high price.
Rick, I hope that helps you out.
And now on a used car, let me talk about used cars real quick.
You have a different scenario for a used car?
Yes, absolutely. Because a lot of dealerships have tools that allow them to aggressively price their vehicles. And, they're basically one pricing their used pre-owned inventory. So when somebody calls up on the car and they go, hey, what's the best price you'll sell that to me for? Well, I'd like to challenge them a little bit. I'd go, well, Mr. Customer, obviously you know the price on this car is a good one. Otherwise, you wouldn't have called on it, right? See, we have a tool that allows us to price all of our vehicles, and we know what these cars are selling for, and we price this one very competitively. We often price our cars well below book value. And, it's not only about the price of the vehicle, but it's also about the condition and, the way that, how many miles were on that car and how well was it taken care of. And, if you came in and looked at this car and you didn't like the way it looked, is there any price that you would pay for it? Probably not. The best thing for you to do, Mr. Customer, would be to come down and look at this car, make sure you like it, and when you like it, and I know you will because it's a nice one, well taken care of, but when you realize how much you like this car, I guarantee you price will not be the reason you don't purchase it. Now, when are you available to come in and look at this car, now or later today?
I like what you're spewing, Jerry. That's good stuff. That's great stuff. Rick, I hope that helped you out. And Jerry, while you're at it, I do have another price question. And while I'm reading that price question, I was hoping maybe you could put that cute little mugshot of you up there so people can see how handsome you are and get your contact information while you're answering these great questions that are coming in from our audience. Okay, next question. It's kind of a price question, too. Chuck, he writes, what kind of discount can we get for signing up with Phone Ninjas from this webinar?
Well, that's a great question. I tell you what, our coaching is normally $35 per coaching session. I'll extend an offer to $30 per coaching session to those that are on the webinar that call me and want to get on the program.
Wow.
They can do that right from my website as well. They can request a demo. They can even get everybody on this link, if they want, they can get a free mystery shop. There's a thing for a free mystery shop. We will internet and phone shop your dealership and get back to you with the results. You can do that by going right to this page right here, get an online demonstration, get a free mystery shop. You want to see how much money this is all costing you? Click that one. There's some pretty cool information there as well.
Wow,
so thanks for asking my question, by the way. I'm not trying to plug my company, but since it was asked, I brought it up.
No. Well, I mean, I got Warren over here. He says, do you do in-store training for dealers? Yes or no?
Yes, we do in-store training as well. Chris is my in-store trainer, Chris Coster, who's on the call today. He's available to come out to your dealership to do training as well.
Well, Warren, I hope that helps you out. Okay, next question comes to us from, I hope I'm saying your name right, Rommel? Oh gosh, I don't know. You write to me and verbally abuse me about that. Okay, he says, how do you convince a customer to come in if you do not have the vehicle that they want and they don't want to switch?
All right, well, if I know for a fact that somebody is driving 2 hours away and they're coming because they think I have a black Chevy Malibu with tan leather interior and that's the only car they want, and they've been very explicit with that on the phone, well, I will not bring that customer to the dealership. I will come clean with them. But if there's any flexibility whatsoever and I don't have the car, I'll bring them. All right? So it's a judgment call that needs to be made by each and every salesperson based on the conversation they have with the customer. There are going to be those situations where you will not bring somebody to your dealership.
Okay. Well, I hope that helped you out, Rommel. Rommel. I don't know how to say your name. Okay, next question comes to us from Susie. She says, what type of info should a salesperson provide when a customer asks, can you tell me some more information about this vehicle? Is that when you, Jerry, is this when you go into
so that's
driven
when
by
I
an
go,
old lady twice a week?
So here's what I say, Eliana. I go, that's a really nice vehicle. We've had some calls on that recently. Before I do that, let me do this. Let me make sure that car is still available for you so I don't waste your time. And then I go in to get their name and number. Remember, you get name and number before you give out any information. And then I come back from hold. I go, great news, that vehicle is available. It's going to be available when you want to come in, now or later today. I make them ask me more. I make them ask me again information about that vehicle, and now they'll go, well, how many miles does it have on it? And then I can use my knowledge handling objection technique, or I'll simply, I'll go, well, it's a really nice one, and maybe I'll pull up the Carfax. It's a one-owner car, never been in an accident. It's a really nice one. When would you like to come in and look at it, now or later today? Reconfirming what they want to hear.
And you know what? Susie wrote back in and she says, I've had customers ask that question even after the appointment is already set. And I never want to give them too much info that will deter them from coming in.
And that brings up, here's another thing that we hear customers, salespeople do. At the end of the call, once the appointment's made and they've done everything they're supposed to do, they did it correctly, we actually will hear some salespeople go, now, is there any other information I can get for you? Well, I say that's a crazy thing to ask because you've already got the appointment. Don't set yourself up to have them ask you more questions. Once the sale is made, stop selling.
That's right. I was just going to say that's an old sales thing. Once you got a yes from the sale, stop selling. Totally true. Susie, I hope that helped you out. We also have Chris Costner on the line, and he says he's available at chris@phoneninjas.com to help with any inquiries, just in case you have any further questions about what they can do for you at Phone Ninja. So thank you, Chris, for that. And next question comes to us from Jeff. He says, what is your most effective parry to the prospect who starts the call with, for example, what is your price on the base Camry? So they're not asking about a particular car. They're asking about a base.
That's a good question. So now, and I'll tell you that if a customer were to call 3 different Toyota dealerships and go, hey, what's your base price for the Camry? They're going to hear 3 different things. And guess where that customer is going to go? They're going to go where they hear the lowest possible price. So I would tell salespeople, have a list of all the cars that you sell and know what the entry-level pricing is on all those vehicles. If there are rebates, you would then subtract the rebates. So let's say the Camry sells for $22,800, and I'm just guessing. I don't know. It's probably right around there. $22,800. Let's say that Toyota has a $1,000 rebate, which they don't, but let's assume they did. Well, now my price would be $21,800. Now let's say that I've got an ad in the paper for $19,900, right? Then that would be the price that I would quote. We have those on sale for $19,900, and of course they go up from there depending on the vehicle that you pick. What would be a good time for you to come out and pick one out now or later today? Always lead with your low price point because it's going to help you bring more traffic to your dealership. It's just like Best Buy. When they put a flyer out with their TVs, they don't advertise their $4,000 TV. They advertise the $299 TV. You go and look at it, it's a 32-incher. And then sit next to that one's a 42-incher. Sit next to that, a 50-incher.
You want the 50-incher. Come on.
Yeah. No, I want the 50-inch TV.
Of course you do.
Anyway, next question.
Next question comes to us from Caleb. He says, do you think it's wise to spend the money on your website and homepage to hire a live chat company to field the questions clients have while on your site, or does it take away from the personal client advisors who work at the store? So, good question. So, hire a live chat company. Do you think you should do it in-house or out-of-house?
Well, I will tell you that chat is the hardest thing to get right. And we actually have chat on our own website. And if you don't get to that chat session within, 6 to 10 seconds, you're missing an opportunity. People aren't going to hang around for that. And chat's the heart of all the lead opportunities. Chat to me is the hardest, just because its execution is very difficult. You have to be a good typer. You need to be a good speller. You need to be quick. You need to know what. And by the way, when you do get a chat session, it goes very much like the phone-up training I just did. And your whole goal is to try to get them on the phone, to evolve into a phone call. I will tell you that I am good friends with all the chat companies, and I like them all. They're good people. I'm very good friends with Todd Smith and Ted Rubin at Active Engage, and I know that from talking to them that when a chat session is hosted by them, they have a much higher percentage rate of getting a name and number from the caller versus that of when dealerships host their own chat. So unless you have somebody staffed right in, sitting at a computer all day, we're ready to take that chat session, it's going to be very tough for a dealership to get it right. If you have multiple people taking those chat sessions, you know, it's difficult to train all those people. So I will tell you, I've seen better results with people that are hosting their own chat, or not that are having the chat provider host their chat for them.
Wow, that's really interesting. And Caleb, I know where you're coming from because you want it to be, most dealerships like to have all their stuff in-house and all that, but, oh, and Caleb wrote in, excellent, thank you for the feedback. It was very helpful. So I really do hope that helped you out. Next question comes to us from Tim. He says, Jerry, how do you feel about TrueCar?
Well, you know, I happen to be writing about TrueCar a lot again lately. Not a lot, but I've recently been provoked into writing something about them. You know, to me, they are a parasite on the industry because all they do is they interject themselves between the customer and the dealer. And, you know, dealerships should be prospecting and generating their own business. And the really good dealerships that have built a name for themselves, that have great repeat customers, and, you know, they're well known in their markets, and they don't need to go to companies like TrueCar for leads. So I'm not a big fan of TrueCar. And, you know, right now TrueCar is spending a lot of money on advertising, and they're driving more people to their website. And the more and more people that go to their website, the more you're going to get those people walking into your dealership. Well, I got this TrueCar price, and it's just going to muddy up the whole industry. And in my opinion, what they're going to do is they're going to eventually drive the industry to one-price shopping, because if the customers want to do that, if TrueCar continues to grow, then manufacturers are going to take notice, and they're going to realize, you know what, maybe we need to be doing one price. And once that day comes, TrueCar is going to work themselves right out of a job. So I'm not a big TrueCar fan, you know, but some dealers feel the need to use it. And, you know, I'm not going to fault them for it, but, you know, you're feeding a baby alligator that's going to one day grow up and
grow into a big alligator. I hear you. We have Edward who wanted to comment on your comments about TrueCar. He says, how is TrueCar any more of a parasite than Edmunds or KBB? And he says, customers do want transparency. So I don't think you're alone in your opinion, but your opinion is your opinion, and we're just going to move on to the next question. We have a couple of really great questions.
You know what, Eliana, let me address that. For those of you who are not using TrueCar, and you get somebody that comes into your dealership and goes, well, I got a TrueCar price. You know how I would combat that? I would say, folks, I'll be more than happy to show you invoice on the vehicle. I'll show you exactly what we paid for it. And obviously, as a consumer, you know that we're here to make a profit. You know, let's work out a reasonable profit, because I will tell you that those dealerships that are using TrueCar, they have to pay TrueCar a fee. And that fee is anywhere from $300 to $400 per vehicle that they sell. Where do you think that money is coming from, Mr. Consumer? It's coming from you ultimately. So by excluding TrueCar from this process, we can probably get you a better deal. Let's sit down and work on that. That's how I would handle a TrueCar customer coming into my dealership.
Okay. I think that's a great way to handle it, Jerry. Edward is obviously going to disagree with you, I think. But that's okay. If it works, if it's working for you, Edward, then you go right on ahead. Jerry, if Jerry owned a dealership, he probably wouldn't use TrueCar. Is that fair to say, Jerry?
Yeah, no, hey, you know what? If a dealer's selling a lot of cars from TrueCar, I can't fault them, you know? I mean, obviously their expenses are probably a little bit higher, you know, because they're paying for those leads. But, you know, hey, the guys selling cars through TrueCar, other dealers in that market are going to take notice, and there's going to be more competition. I mean, there are some markets that work out well for TrueCar. Like, you know, if you're in a small rural area and you're the only act in town, you know, and you're generating business from TrueCar, then you might not have a lot of competition. But those dealerships in the bigger cities, you know, where there's, you know, 10 Toyota dealerships, you know, in a 30-mile radius, you know, once they all jump on there, man, that's going to be become very competitive.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because Edward wrote in, dealers have been paying for leads for years. That's true. We actually have, I'm going to just roll this right into a webinar that we have coming up. We have a webinar coming up on January 31st that's going to talk about how to get more sales from your second and third party leads. So that might help you out as well. You might see something different there. Who knows? Okay, I do want to get to these last two questions. Oh, no, don't go there. Don't go there. I want to get to these last two questions that are about objections. Stephanie, I know you've been waiting a long time, and I'm sorry, there were a lot of people in front of you. Stephanie wrote in a great question. She says, when a customer is calling about something like lease specials, what hook do you use to get their info?
So they're calling about a lease special. And manufacturers often, put out some really great specials. Like, for instance, I've seen a Chevy Malibu for as low as $179 a month. And you need to know what your lease specials are. And I would say, well, we have a special, and when you say it, you have to be excited about it. We have a special on the Malibu right now for $179 a month. When would be a good time for you to come down and take one out now or later today? Notice I don't give them all the fine print. I make that customer ask me how much money down. And if the customer goes, well, how much money do I have to put down? I then say, well, generally the banks like to see $2,400 down, but we've had them go out here with as little as nothing down. How much were you thinking about putting down, Mr. Customer? Great. With big sales going on, we'll make something work. When's a good time for you to come in, now or later today? So you only divulge that information when you have to, but you need to know all your lead specials. And if your manufacturer doesn't have a advertised lead special, then your dealership should come up with one. And I would, put some sort of money down to get that price down lower, and use that payment, because there are people out there that are concerned about payments. And let's face it, $179 a month, who can't afford that? That's going to help drive people to your dealership. So use those lease specials. And there are certain aspects of the parts of the country where leasing isn't really big, and I'll tell you, you're missing a good opportunity if your dealership is not trained on how to be effective with leasing, because it's a guaranteed opportunity for you to get a repeat customer in 3 years, because most leases are 3 years. I would love to have my dealership have, all my customers on leases, because I know I got a new client every 3 years. Lease retention is very high.
Excellent. Excellent. Stephanie, I hope that helped you out. And I do want to get to Mr. Quintanilla's question. He says, recently a customer called in requesting a value on their trade, but they don't want to bring it in. How do you handle that? So Jerry, after you have your mental margarita over this guy who won't bring in his trade to get it evaluated, how would you handle something like that and still keep the appointment?
Well, obviously, I would. Let's say you're the customer, Eliana. Eliana, why don't you tell me a little bit about your trade? What are you driving?
I am driving a 2003 convertible white car with a black interior.
Okay, well, that sounds really nice. What make is it? Oh, it's a Mercedes. Those are really nice. Now, is that the 5-seat or an automatic, Eliana?
Automatic.
Automatic. Great. Customers love that car in an automatic. Now, how many miles do you currently have on that vehicle?
76,000.
It's under 80?
Yes.
Wow. I'm confident we can get you top dollar for the vehicle. And then you go, how much? Hey, that's a great question. When's the last time you had that vehicle professionally appraised?
I don't think I've ever had it professionally appraised.
Well, that's where we need to start. When would be a good time for you to bring your vehicle in so we could professionally appraise your vehicle? Would today or tomorrow be better? And you gotta tell people, if I were to give you and if someone goes, well, what can you tell me my car's worth over the phone? Well, I would not be doing you justice by giving you a number over the phone, because there's a lot of variables that go into pricing a car. And any dealer who does give you a number over the phone, obviously they're going to inflate that number to get you to come to their dealership. And then when you get to their dealership, that number is going to be different from what they gave you over the phone. The best thing for you to do, Mr. Customer, if you want to get the most for your car, is to bring it into my dealership so we can appraise it for you. We're the largest dealer in the area, and we sell more pre-owned cars than anybody. So if anybody's going to give you top dollar for that trade, it's us. If you trade that car in anywhere else on first checking with us, I'll guarantee you've missed out on a great opportunity. And, that's what I'm going to say. I mean, you're going to get, every now and then, you're going to get that person that, well, look, you need to give me a price. At that point, I say to the customer, I'm not authorized to give that, but let me go talk to my manager, I'll get back to you.
Because we have Caleb who's writing, and he says, what if you ask for the VIN number and provide them with a trade-in range? Should you ask them if their vehicle needs anything? Do they need new tires, new brakes? Does it have a Navi, etc.?
You can do that, but once again, you're working a deal over the phone. You're likely to make more money in person. You're likely to close more deals in person. You do this type of stuff over the phone, you're giving away dollars. You know, is it going to have to happen occasionally? Yes, but I will tell you, it's not as often as you think. And a lot of times when we hear this stuff, it's the salesperson leading the customer to do all this over the phone.
Gotcha. So really, I mean, because I've heard this before, the phone call is to sell the appointment. But if you're doing the appointment over the phone, then they have no reason to come in. Is that right?
Correct.
So the phone call is to sell the appointment. You're always selling the appointment. You're not selling the car yet. That's
right.
What we're doing.
You sell in person. You have a
Got
better chance of a higher closing ratio.
Got it. That makes total sense. So let me see. Who asked that? Yes, Mr. Quintanilla wrote in with that, and I hope that helped you out. We do have a follow-up from Stephanie, who you answered her question previous to that question. She says, my question is, how can I use that info, how can I use the lease information to get the customer's information? When, of course, I know that our lease specials are great and what they are, but this person is calling in anonymously.
Okay, so if you don't have the customer's contact information, you would say, though, I will certainly get that lease information for you. That'll take me 10 minutes. Are you calling from home or work? So even though you know what the lease information is already, you play dumb and don't tell them that you know that. And tell them you're going to get that. You're going to have to call them back in 10 minutes. And that way they're inclined to give you their name and number. And then you can say, oh, hey, you know what? I just found my leasing special. I actually have that information right in front of me. And now you have their name and number. You can now share that information with them.
Gotcha, gotcha. Stephanie, I hope that was the information you were looking for. I also want to let you know, Jeff wrote back and he said, thanks for the great session. He learned some great things to share with his people, and he's looking forward to hearing some more from you. So thank you, Jerry. That was amazing. Great, great, great presentation. Always love having you. And for all of you out there, by the way, we have already invited Jerry back to do another session with us in April, early April. So we haven't.
And I'm going to do something other than phones. I'm going to talk about something other than conversation with you.
Something other than phones? Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that. And of course, as soon as we get that information, we'll put that out there for all of you to see and already sign up early for that. Heather wrote in, thanks a lot, Jerry. Great session. Stephanie, awesome. Thanks so much. And Norma, yes, that was a great informative session. Dana, thank you so much. This definitely helped. I'm sure I'll be making more appointments and cashing in some nice checks. And Mr. Quintanilla, very insightful. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today, and thank you for participating in our fabulous webinar today. And Jerry, thank you for being so awesome. We are way past the top of the hour, and any questions that weren't answered during the time allotted are going to be answered by email later today. Of course, we want to remind the audience that a link to download this awesome webinar recording from today is going to be emailed to you later today for your reference. Share it with friends and colleagues, coworkers. They're definitely going to want to see this. Today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. All you got to do is go to DealerOn.com/webinars and click on the link that says On Demand Webinars. There you can also view our upcoming webinar schedule and access any of our past webinars too. And don't forget, we would love for you to answer the short survey that's going to come to you after we close out this webinar. Please fill it out because we always need your feedback. And we're going to randomly select a couple of people to also win some Google swag. And DealerOn is going to be at the upcoming NADA convention in Orlando. So if you're going to be there, well, heck, we want to see you. Stop by booth 3259 and say hi. I'm going to be there. I'd love to see you. Let's take some pictures together, get some videos done. I'd love to hear your feedback on our webinars and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a great conference, and none other than Jeff Clark, our EVP of Business Development over at DealerOn, is going to be giving a really great seminar on digital strategies to double your fixed ops profits. So we have all that information up there on the screen right now. We really hope you can make it. Because talking at NADA, that's not a little thing. That's a pretty big deal. And you can guess it, Jerry Thibeau is going to be doing it himself too. Phone Ninjas will be at NADA as well. They're going to be at booth 128, and they want to see you too, so please go visit them as well. And Jerry is going to be talking about the Mystery Phone Shop Challenge. You don't want to miss that either. He's going to be there Friday, Saturday, and Monday, so please go check him out. You are going to not want to miss your opportunity to see the original Phone Ninja himself in action. It is awesome. And invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar, Turning Sales Leads into Fixed Ops Customers, with Ray Fenster. He's the president and CEO of RayFenster.com. And you can dot the internet, the I on Internet now, learn how to cross your T's to maximize profits. Dealerships all over the world invest millions of dollars, and still they struggle with making the internet work for them. This presentation is going to provide a roadmap on how to get from ground zero to the moon, crossing the T's, starting with understanding that all hands online process, and then moving through simple, easy to understand steps to go from good to great to excellent. You just can't afford to miss this one. This will be another fabulous presentation by your friends at DealerOn. And don't forget, DealerOn's weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we have some really great webinar subjects planned for this year. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars or our topics, please feel free to contact me directly. My name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you. I'm on every social network, so track me down online or email me at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and we hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a good one. We'll catch you soon.